My parents said, "You can watch the toasts from the kitchen," when my sister scoffed. "No one wants to hear from a failed barista," so I walked out, cancelled the open bar I funded, and by dawn, they were all begging me to come back. I'm a 37-year-old woman living in Asheville, North Carolina. I used to own a cafe, something I poured my heart and soul into, but a few years ago it went under after a string of bad business decisions, not all mine, and a pretty devastating divorce. These days, I work as a barista in a local shop, and honestly, I like it. I like the routine, the customers, the way the espresso machine sounds in the quiet morning. It's honest work. I'm good at it. To my family, though, especially my parents, it's like I failed out of life. They don't say it directly, but the silence is loud. My parents, Marcia and Franklin, are what I'd call old Southern stock. Appearances matter. Reputation matters. A lot. We're originally from Raleigh, and when I was growing up, things were always about what we looked like from the outside: clean church dresses, polite smiles, and quiet girls who didn't cause problems. Then there's my sister, Daphne. She's 6 years younger than me and always radiant. Think wedding catalog model but in real life. Blonde hair, long limbs, effortless charm. People gravitated toward her. Teachers adored her. Boys followed her around like ducklings. It's not even her fault, really, it's just how the world responded to her, and how our parents shaped her because of it. She could do no wrong in their eyes. I could get straight A's, and they'd barely comment. Daphne landed a minor role in a local theater show at 16, and they threw a backyard party with catered barbecue and custom invitations. That kind of imbalance slowly wears on you. But I tried not to hold it against her. She was my little sister. I helped her move to college. I bailed her out when she wrecked her first car. I sent care packages when she got mono. I thought that's what big sisters did. Then last year, she got engaged to Luca. He's fine. Nice enough, I suppose. Works in his father's hospitality business in Charleston. Comes from money. He's the type of guy who calls his dad Pop and doesn't notice when waitstaff are standing at the table. Polished, but not particularly deep. But hey, if Daphne was happy, who was I to judge? They announced the wedding would be held in Savannah, Georgia, at a mansion venue called the Davenport House. Beautiful spot. Expensive. Our parents were footing most of the bill, but it was obvious the budget was tight. My mom dropped hints about how champagne toasts really add up and signature cocktails would be lovely, but maybe unrealistic. So I did what I thought a good sister would do. I offered to cover the bar. I had just received a small inheritance from our grandmother, a woman I'd been very close with, who, ironically, was the only person in our family who ever genuinely encouraged my independence. The check wasn't huge, just over $12,000, but I knew they were short, and I wanted to contribute something meaningful. I offered to fund the full open bar, including champagne toasts, wine service, and signature drinks. No one forced me. I wanted to. They were over the moon. Daphne even called me, uncharacteristically emotional, saying, "I really appreciate this, Celeste. You don't know how much it means." For a moment, I felt like part of the family again. Fast forward to the wedding week. I flew into Savannah on Wednesday and stayed in a modest inn a few blocks from the venue. No one offered to include me in any of the pre-wedding festivities, but I figured I'd just go with the flow. I dropped off pastries for the bridal suite Friday morning, not realizing I wasn't even supposed to be up there. When the planner saw me, she looked confused and asked, "Are you delivering these?" Daphne's voice, floating from the room, answered for me. "That's just Celeste. She's fine." She didn't even turn her head. I swallowed the sting. I kept showing up, offering help, asking where I could pitch in. I got a few polite nods, some empty "we're good, thanks" replies, and was basically brushed aside. I wasn't part of the inner circle. I was a utility. Still, I told myself it didn't matter. Weddings are stressful. People are focused. I'd have my moment at the reception. I'd get to give a toast, nothing elaborate, just a few warm words about Daphne's childhood, about growing up sisters. When I brought it up to my dad the morning of the wedding, he looked like I'd handed him a dead rat. "Oh, sweetie," he said. "We've already got a full lineup of speeches. You understand." I thought maybe I could say something short, I said. Just a little story about us growing up. Nothing formal. He smiled tightly. Why don't you just enjoy the evening? Relax, be a guest. It stung, but I tried not to take it personally. Reception time came. The venue was glowing with candles, and the music was already floating through the air. I found my name at a small round table near the back. Not with family. Not with extended relatives. I was seated next to Luca's coworker and his wife, who made small talk about real estate in Charleston and asked if I was still doing that coffee thing. As the first round of toast started, I stood quietly near the bar I had paid for, sipping a cocktail and waiting. I figured I could at least watch from a good vantage point. That's when Marlene, the planner, tapped me on the shoulder. Hi, Celeste, right? Yes? Your mother asked me to let you know you'll be watching the toasts from the kitchen. Just in case we need someone to assist with the bar or dessert trays. I blinked at her. I'm not working the event. I'm family. She hesitated. That's just the message I was asked to pass along. She said you'd understand. I was frozen. My stomach knotted. I felt my face flush. Before I could respond, Daphne glided past with her maid of honor. She glanced at me, then smirked. Honestly, Celeste, she said, half whispering to her friend but loud enough for me to hear. No one wants to hear from a failed barista about love. They both laughed. And that was it. That was the moment. I walked, no storming, no scene, just quietly walked out the side door, into the humid Savannah night. I stood under the Spanish moss-draped oak trees, took a breath, and pulled out my phone. I called the bar company. This is Celeste Royce, I said. I'm the primary payer for the Bellamy Ruiz wedding bar service. Yes, ma'am. Everything's going smoothly, I need to cancel the remainder of the service. Effective immediately. There was a pause. Is there an issue? No, I'm exercising the clause in the contract that allows cancellation by the funder. Tell your staff to stop serving. Pack up. Leave the unopened bottles. I'd read the contract carefully when I signed it. I knew I could pull the plug at any time. I ate the deposit and the hours already worked. I didn't care. I stayed nearby, just out of view, and watched the confusion ripple across the lawn as the bartenders began to pack. Guests lined up and were turned away. Luca's uncle was yelling. The DJ kept playing, but the energy shifted, quick. By midnight, half the guests had left. By 1 a.m., my phone was blowing up. My mom, where are you? Come back. This is childish. My dad, I don't know what's gotten into you, but we need to talk. Now. Daphne, you seriously sabotaged my wedding because you didn't get a mic. You're pathetic. And then, I didn't mean it. I'm sorry. Please just call me. I didn't respond. Not that night. Not for days. And honestly? I've never felt more in control of my life. I didn't answer any of their calls that night. Not one. I watched the notifications pile up on my phone like bricks on my chest. Missed calls from my dad, voicemails from my mother, long text paragraphs from Daphne, alternating between rage and self-pity. I didn't even read most of them. I turned the phone over on the nightstand in my own room and stared at the ceiling until the morning light crept in through the curtains. The next morning, I checked out early, threw my suitcase in the trunk, and drove up the coast to Charleston. I didn't even have a plan, I just knew I couldn't be in Savannah when they started looking for me in person. I stopped at a diner just past a Hilton Head and ordered pancakes and coffee. When the server brought the plate, she smiled and said, "Rough night?" I guess it showed. I smiled weakly and said, "Family wedding." She nodded like she'd heard it before. That week was quiet. I turned off my phone for 3 days. I read, walked on the beach, drank bad hotel wine, and let myself feel all the things I hadn't been able to feel in years. The loneliness. The resentment. The tiny, sharp betrayals that had built up over a lifetime. Because this wasn't just about the wedding. Not really. This was about the years I spent being the dependable one, the quiet one, the one who could be overlooked because she'd never make a scene. I showed up for birthdays, graduations, hospital visits. I drove my mom to appointments after her knee surgery. I was the one who helped my dad file paperwork after his minor stroke. I did it without complaint. I was raised to believe that loyalty meant silence. That love meant accepting crumbs and calling it a meal. And I was so tired of it. On the 5th day, I turned my phone back on. Dozens of new messages. A few missed calls from unknown numbers, probably my dad borrowing a friend's phone. There was one voicemail I did listen to, and it was from my mom. Her voice was thin, almost rehearsed. Celeste, honey, we're concerned. We've been talking, and maybe things got misinterpreted. We want to talk. Daphne's very upset. This day meant a lot to her. We just want to understand what happened. Please call us. Not I'm sorry. Not we were wrong. Just misinterpreted. I didn't call back. About a week after the wedding, I got a large envelope in the mail. No return address, but I recognized my dad's handwriting right away. Inside was a 5-page letter, neatly typed, printed on the heavy linen paper my mom saves for important correspondence. It started with a thinly veiled attempt at sympathy. We know you've had a difficult few years, and we know that sometimes people act out when they feel left behind. From there, it spiraled into a full-blown defense of everything they did. We didn't mean for the kitchen comment to be insulting. Daphne didn't intend to hurt you with her words, she was under a lot of stress. You've always been a little sensitive, and we've tried to be patient with your feelings. You embarrassed this family, and it's going to take time to rebuild trust. Rebuild trust? I held the letter for a long time. I didn't cry. I think I was past crying by then. I felt numb. Like I'd walked so far from them that I couldn't even hear their voices behind me anymore. I put the letter back in the envelope, sealed it in a plastic bag, and shoved it into the back of a drawer in my closet. I haven't looked at it since. The real fallout came later, in ways I hadn't expected. Apparently, the bar shut down at the wedding became a topic of major gossip in Luca's family. Word got around that the bride's sister had sabotaged the reception. The more people talked, the more they started asking questions. Why wasn't the sister part of the bridal party? Why wasn't she acknowledged? Why did so many guests say they felt the vibe was off? A few people who were at the wedding actually reached out to me directly. A second cousin I hadn't spoken to in years sent me a message on Facebook saying, "I don't know what happened, but you didn't deserve that." One of Daphne's high school friends, someone I barely knew, emailed me and said, "For what it's worth, I always thought you were the only grounded one in that family." It was surreal. The family group chat, the one my parents started years ago to keep everyone in the loop, went quiet for a while. Then it came back to life without me in it. I found out from a cousin that I'd been removed from the thread. Just like that. I didn't confront them. I didn't try to fix it. I just let it be. Then, around early January, I got an invitation to a makeup family dinner. A handwritten note from my mom. "We think it would be good to start fresh. We want to talk things out. No judgment." I didn't go. Instead, I started something for myself. I took the remainder of my inheritance, what was left after the wedding fiasco, and rented a small commercial kitchen space in West Asheville. Nothing fancy. Just a tiny corner with a leased espresso machine, some equipment, and a wall of shelves for small batch roasts and cold brews. I started selling to a few local cafes. It was slow at first, but I loved every second of it. No one belittled me there. No one rolled their eyes when I talked about coffee or business. I built the brand myself. I started printing labels with my own artwork. I named the blend Second Daughter. The name made me laugh every time I slapped it on a jar. I don't talk to Daphne anymore. Not because I hate her, I don't. I honestly think she's the way she is because no one ever expected her to be more. But I don't have space in my life anymore for people who see me as a placeholder. Last I heard, she and Luca were doing couples counseling. Something about trust issues. My mother tried to tell me this during one of her attempts at re-entry into my life. She said it like I should feel responsible, like Daphne's rocky marriage was my fault because of what I did at the wedding. But here's the thing, I didn't ruin her wedding. I just stopped pretending. And when you stop pretending in a family that survives on illusion, everything starts to crack. I think what hit them hardest wasn't just that I pulled the plug on the bar. It was that I didn't come crawling back afterward. They'd spent so many years believing that I needed them more than they needed me. That I was the weak one. The one who'd always be sitting at the family table no matter how far down the end they seated me. That I'd smile, nod, and absorb whatever scraps of recognition they handed me because I was so lucky just to be included. When I didn't show up to that makeup dinner, my mom called twice. She left voicemails, one clipped and businesslike, the other attempting a softer tone. I just don't understand what's going on, Celeste. This is also unnecessary. Family is family. But even that, the way she said it, told me everything. To her, it was all about the optics. The expectation that I'd show up, say the right words, laugh at Daphne's jokes again, and make everyone else comfortable. Me walking away from that expectation? That was a breach of contract. What they didn't understand was that I wasn't angry anymore. Not in the hot, righteous way I was that night. I had moved past that. What I felt now was colder. Quieter. The kind of tiredness you feel when you realize a door has been closed for years, and you just never saw it until you stopped knocking. The only person who approached me with something that resembled actual remorse was my Uncle Lionel, my dad's older brother. He sent me an email a few weeks after the wedding. Celeste, I wasn't going to get involved, but I wanted to tell you something. I was watching during the toasts. I saw the way they treated you. I don't blame you one bit. If I'd known what was happening, I would have said something. Just know that not everyone thought you were in the wrong. It was a short note, but it stayed with me. I didn't reply, not because I didn't appreciate it, but because I didn't know what to say. Gratitude felt misplaced. What was I supposed to thank him for? Not treating me like a pariah? I started seeing a therapist in March. Not because of the wedding, exactly, but because I realized how much of my identity had been shaped by shrinking to fit into the mold my family had assigned me. The good daughter. The responsible one. The silent one. We talked a lot about that phrase, failed barista. It had burrowed into my head like a tick. Every time I started to feel proud of what I was building, I'd hear it again. Her voice, dismissive and amused. But week by week, the sting wore off. My therapist, Lorna, asked me to name the things that made me feel most alive, most authentic. Coffee came up again and again. The quiet of early mornings. The rhythm of steaming milk. The little handwritten notes regulars leave on the counter when they love a new roast. None of that felt like failure to me. Meanwhile, my small batch business started gaining traction. A blogger from Chapel Hill featured me in a local business spotlight. Then a small cafe in Boone ordered a recurring supply. I rebranded the cold brew jars with a new logo, a black coffee cup with steam swirling into the shape of two branches, not symmetrical, but reaching upward all the same. I named that blend Estranged. Maybe it was petty. Maybe it was healing. But it made people ask questions, and I didn't mind telling the truth anymore. By late spring, my parents started circling back with more subtle attempts to re-engage. My dad forwarded me an article about women in small business with a note, "Thought of you, impressive stuff." No mention of the wedding. No apology. Just a breadcrumb. Then came an invitation to a July 4th cookout at their house. Hand-delivered, thick cardstock, my name written on the envelope in my mother's script, not Celeste, but C. Royce. Like I was a client. Not family. I didn't respond. The text started again. "You're still part of this family. We've given you space, but it's time to move forward. Daphne is trying. You need to meet her halfway. She's pregnant, Celeste. This is not the time to hold grudges." That last one? That one almost worked. Because despite everything, despite the years of being overlooked, the insults, the exclusion, there was a part of me that reacted instinctively to the news. A new life. A niece or nephew. A chance to be the kind of adult I wished I'd had growing up. My heart ached in the most frustrating way. But then I thought about how easily they tried to use it. Not as a joy to share, but as a guilt trip. A tool. She's pregnant, so let it go. Like her pregnancy should reset the board and erase everything that came before. I closed the text and put my phone away. Around that time, I started spending more time with a friend of mine, Leanne, who owned the flower shop next to my workspace. We'd met when I first leased the kitchen and had slowly grown close through shared lunches, long talks, and late-night cleanup shifts. She had her own family baggage, and we bonded over it. There's something about knowing someone else has felt the weight of being the designated scapegoat that softens the loneliness. One night, after locking up, we were sitting on the curb with our feet on the asphalt, splitting a bottle of ginger beer. I told her everything. The wedding. The kitchen. The bar. The aftermath. She didn't gasp or try to fix it. She just said, "God, that must have felt like breaking a bone you didn't know was out of place." And it did. Because as painful as it had been, something had shifted that night in Savannah. I stopped bending. Stopped accommodating. Stopped hoping they'd see me differently if I just gave them one more reason to. And they noticed. That's what all the scrambling had been about. They weren't used to me setting boundaries. It disrupted the ecosystem. Daphne sent me one more text in August. "This one is different. I get why you're angry." "I do. I was cruel. I said what I said to hurt you. I wanted to feel above you for a second. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm sorry. I'm not asking for a do-over. I just wanted to say it out loud." I stared at it for a long time. It wasn't perfect. It didn't excuse anything. But it was honest. I didn't reply right away. I didn't know what I wanted to say. I didn't know if I wanted to say anything. Because forgiveness, real forgiveness, isn't a button you push. It's a hallway you walk down in your own time. I didn't respond to Daphne's message. Not right away. I let it sit in my phone like an unopened letter, one you know the contents of but aren't sure if it's worth replying to. For once in my life, I wasn't rushing to comfort someone who had hurt me. I wasn't trying to soothe their guilt or find the right way to respond so that everyone could pretend things were fine. I didn't owe her anything. And I wasn't interested in half-heeled apologies from people who'd leave me out the next time the spotlight moved. But I also wasn't vengeful anymore. Not in the way they expected. My silence wasn't about payback. It was about peace. Then one morning in October, just as the leaves started to turn on the Blue Ridge Parkway and tourists flooded into Asheville for apple cider and fall hikes, I got an email. Subject line, speaking request, local women in business panel. It was from a woman named Marissa who ran a networking group for female entrepreneurs in North Carolina. She'd seen my cold brew brand featured in a piece by a regional lifestyle magazine. She wanted to invite me to speak at a panel in Charlotte. Topic, rebuilding after loss. It wasn't a TED Talk. It wasn't Oprah. But it was a stage. And I said yes. The event was at a boutique hotel downtown, a cozy conference space with exposed brick, Edison bulbs, and rows of white folding chairs. There were maybe 75 people in the room, mostly women, mostly small business owners, all of them watching as I walked up to the mic in jeans, boots, and a faded chambray shirt with my company's tiny embroidered logo over the heart. I told them the truth. Not every detail. But enough. I talked about starting over after my marriage collapsed. Losing the business. The inheritance. The humiliation I'd carried from being treated like a burden by the people who were supposed to love me. And then I told them what I'd done. How I walked away from the wedding. How I pulled the plug. How I reclaimed my power in the only language my family understood, cutting off the supply they thought I'd never stop providing. There was a moment of stillness after I said it. Then someone clapped. Then another. And then the room erupted in applause. And standing at the back of the room? Luca's cousin Meredith. She came up to me afterward, holding a ginger lemon tea and a smile. "You probably don't remember me," she said. "But I was at the wedding. I was at your table. I left early because it felt off. What you said just now. It explains a lot. And for what it's worth, I think it was brilliant." I thanked her. We talked for 20 minutes. She ran a small design firm in Wilmington. She asked if I'd be open to a collaboration for a client of hers who wanted locally roasted gifts for holiday baskets. That single conversation turned into a contract. The contract turned into a referral. And suddenly, I wasn't just selling to a few cafes anymore. I had bulk orders coming in. A waiting list for my seasonal blends. And then came the best moment of all. In late November, right before Thanksgiving, my parents hosted a gratitude brunch, one of those performative Southern affairs they like to stage with catered quiche, fine china, and gold-plated calligraphy name cards. I didn't go. But I was invited. Not just by email. A call. From my mother. She tried so hard to sound upbeat. "We're hoping we can all come together. Things have been heavy. We'd really like to see you. Daphne's been asking about you." I politely declined. "I'm spending the holiday with friends this year," I said. There was a pause. A beat of disbelief. Celeste, family is optional, I said. And mine's here now. In Asheville. At my table. I heard the shift in her tone. She realized then that the script had flipped. I wasn't the quiet one anymore. I wasn't the fallback girl. I was the woman who'd stood in front of a crowd and told her story, and who was finally being seen. But the true ending? The true revenge, if you want to call it that? It came in December. The local Chamber of Commerce held its annual Small Business Awards, a modest but well-attended event. I was nominated in the Community Rising Star category. I won. They gave me a plaque and a feature in the local news. My photo, standing in front of the new Second Daughter Roastery location, now expanded to a small brick-and-mortar cafe, made it into the print edition. My mother saw it. How do I know? Because she sent a card. Not a text. Not a call. A card. With my full name on the envelope and a note inside, we saw the article. Your father and I are very proud. We'd love to visit sometime. Let us know when it would be convenient. They wanted a tour. They wanted a taste of what I'd built. And that's when I smiled. Not out of spite, not even out of satisfaction, but from the deep, quiet joy of knowing that I didn't need to punish them. I had already won. Not because they finally wanted me at the table, but because I'd built my own. One where I set the menu. Where I chose who got a seat. Where the coffee was strong, the boundaries stronger, and the toasts? The toasts were mine. Forever.